Welcome to the Sports Beer Jokes YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about the University of Champions, biggest brand in college athletics, the most menacing football team to ever grace God's green earth, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. As we say at the beginning of every video, if you're a big believer in watching sports, drinking beer, and chopping it up with your buddies, let me tell you right now, you're gonna love it here, my friend. Whether you're an LSU fan or you're a part of that other pathetic loser group, it doesn't matter. You're welcome here. Welcome to the Sports Beer Jokes community. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into the video. Now, one thing that really pisses me off as a college football fan on a national scale is just the lack of respect that non-LSU fans have for my Tigers. Here's a fun fact for you, pal. Since the turn of the century, as far as the 21st century is concerned, years that start with a 2, LSU has the second most national championships in the entire country, only behind Alabama. But if you were to ask most college football fans, name your top 3 best programs in the 21st century, I doubt they're gonna say LSU unless they're an LSU fan. And even some Benedict Arnold LSU fans might not even say LSU. They're gonna say Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, etc. And I really think that's a load of bullcrap. Like, you can talk about overall record and conference titles and playoff appearances all you want, but the only thing that really matters is championships at the end of the day. That's the reason why you play. That's the ultimate goal for every single team. And nobody in this era besides Alabama has been better at winning championships than the LSU Tigers. But why is it that people don't put the proper respect on our name that we deserve? I mean, there has to be a reason, right? And there is a reason. There's actually multiple reasons. I'll tell you right now. Number 1, these dudes don't know ball. Simple as that. Number 2, it's always gonna be Louisiana against the world. We are the main characters of college athletics. Think about all the superstars throughout history that have proudly repped LSU. We consistently win championships in all sorts of different sports. We are the biggest and most recognizable brand in college football, and that's why everyone's jealous of us.
Exactly. They hate us because they ain't us.
And finally, the third reason why people don't give us our proper respect is, simply put, Nick Saban owned us. We had to play in the SEC West all these years, and unfortunately for us, that meant that the road to the SEC championship went through Alabama, and we weren't able to get over the hump more times than not. I mean, no one was. It was Alabama, the greatest dynasty of all time. But we unfortunately not only had to be in the same conference as them, but the same division. And that really hurt us, despite us having some really good teams over the past 15 years. And yet, despite all of this adversity, we still found a way to get the second most championships. And that's because we don't make excuses like all you other soft vaginas. We drop our nuts and get to work. Fuck you, Ole Miss. Oh, piss. But I'm telling you right now, you dumb motherfuckers better be scared, because you're about to learn what you've been sleeping on for the past 15 years. It's our time to shine now. Our kryptonite, Nick Saban, is gone. The one obstacle that held back so many great LSU teams throughout my lifetime is officially out of the picture, gone forever. We never have to worry about that asshole again. The window has never been more wide open, at least in my lifetime, for the LSU Tigers. And that's saying something, considering the fact that we've been the second best program in the country. All we have to do is continue what we've been doing this whole time, which is kicking your butt in recruiting, kicking your butt in the weight room, kicking your butt on the practice field, and then kicking your butt on Saturday. After 2019, LSU absolutely fell off a cliff with Ed Orgeron. We failed to finish with an above 500 record in both 2020 and 2021. 2020 was the first season since 1999 where we didn't make a bowl game. 21 years. But then Brian Kelly came in. He faked that Louisiana accent, and people had their doubts. All the haters were chirping, all the yappers were yapping, but we're LSU. You already know we're gonna tune out that excess noise. Locked in on one goal, one team, one heartbeat. And what do we decide to do? We make one of the best decisions we've ever made in program history, going after Jaden Daniels in the transfer portal. And in his first season at LSU, Brian Kelly is able to get over the Nick Saban hump and make it to the SEC championship. Vastly overachieving and way ahead of schedule, considering the absolute dumpster fire that he took over from the end of Ed Orgeron's tenure. The next year, in a lot of ways, kind of felt like a disappointment from an LSU fan perspective, and I 100% get that. We're a University of Champions. We expect championships. That's a good thing. But like I said just a moment ago, BK is ahead of schedule. Obviously, with that first season, he set the bar really high for himself, but to his credit, when he took the job in 2022, he's been saying since the very beginning that we need to give him 3 to 4 years before he can realistically start competing for those natties. You need a little bit more time to establish that culture and get us back to the level that we were in the 2000s and the 2010s. And obviously, it's not like 2023 was a bad year by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, for crying out loud, we had another 10-win season. We won our bowl game. Our quarterback won the Heisman. Our best receivers should have won the Biletnikoff. We had an absolutely historic, record-breaking #1 offense in the entire country. country. But obviously us spoiled LSU fans still have a little bit of a bitter taste in our mouths when we talk about 2023. And that's for a variety of reasons. Obviously losing to Bama stings, especially when we saw BK and Jaden prove that they can do it the year before. Also getting blown out in front of the entire country, nationally televised, first game of the year. Going 0-2 against Florida State, it's just not gonna cut it. And then any time that we're LSU and we lose to Ole Miss, something's wrong. That's unacceptable. They've never been on our level. They never will be on our level. We own them. They've never even made it to an SEC championship. Let that sink in. We will right this wrong next year. And then I saved the most obvious reason for our bitterness for last. The worst defense in the history of our program. And I'm not going to beat this point to death because everybody watching this video already knows this. But the worst part is, if we just had an average defense last year, we probably make it to the playoffs. Give us a slightly below mediocre defense and we're probably competing for a national championship, which is just absolutely brutal to think about. Me, as a 21-year-old LSU fan, I grew up watching Tyrann Mathieu, Barkevious Mingo, Devin White, Arden Key, etc. The list goes on for an eternity. That doesn't even scratch the surface. We are the LSU Tigers. We epitomize great defense. It's time to bring that swagger back. And we will bring that swagger back. And I started this whole video off titling it Why We're Gonna Be the Next Dynasty in College Football. And now it's time to get into the real meat and potatoes of why I actually do believe that. But you know I had to just set the tone for the first 6 minutes. Just like LSU's gonna set the tone on the opening kickoff against USC on September 1st, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. But yeah, as I said a little bit earlier, Brian Kelly has said from the very beginning that it's gonna take him 3 to 4 years to get to that national championship level. We are now entering year 3. The dynasty is upon us. Obviously, going into 2024, it's really easy to point out that we lost Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas, who are arguably our 3 best players on the 2023 squad. But this is college football. Everybody loses their best players every 2 or 3 years. Instead of looking at who we're not going to have in 2024, let's look at who we are going to have in 2024 and judge the team that way. We are going to be a significantly more balanced football team this season.
Well, no fucking shit.
We do not care.
And I know that's kind of obvious considering the fact that there's no real other direction this team could possibly go in. We were the most imbalanced team in college football last year with the best offense and probably the worst defense. And even though this offense is probably going to take a step back, I still think we can be a top 5 unit in the country. We have the best offensive line in college football. We're returning 4 out of our 5 starters, which if you know anything about the game of football, you know that continuity on the offensive line is probably the most important thing. And the one new guy is a 4-star out of Georgia named DJ Chester, who's 6'6", 318. He honestly might be better than Charles Turner was last year. Also, both of our starting offensive tackles are going to be first-round draft picks next offseason. Will Campbell might be the best player in all of college football, and I know it's crazy to say that about an offensive lineman, but if you were gonna say it about an offensive lineman, it would be Will Campbell. He's number 7 at LSU as an offensive lineman. Absolute game changer. And then our right tackle, Emory Jones, is also an elite college football player who's gonna be one of the first tackles taken off the board in the 2025 draft. We are gonna physically impose our will on our opponents this season, both in the run game and the pass game. And that's gonna make life a lot easier for our new QB1, Garrett Nussmeier. He is an absolute anomaly in today's world of college football. No one sits around and waits their turn anymore. But that's exactly what Garrett Nussmeier did. And I don't know about you, but personally, that's the kind of guy I want leading my team. And it really goes to show the culture that BK is establishing at LSU. But yeah, this is obviously the first season where Nuss is the guy, so it's a little bit of a question mark. But out of all the quarterbacks to ever take over a starting role for the first time, I feel like we have one of the best situations where we actually know what we have in Nuss. Not only have these coaches been around him at practice every day for years, but us as fans have also gotten a really big sample size of in-game reps for Nuss during his days as a backup. He was thrown into the SEC championship against one of the greatest college defenses of all time, and all things considered, he did pretty well. He came in mid-game against that 2022 Georgia defense, and even though we lost, his performance was actually a positive takeaway from that game, at least for me, and I know a lot of other LSU fans too. He was letting that bitch fly. This dude is a gunslinger. It wasn't perfect, but the moment definitely did not seem too bright for him. He also came in for the Bama game when Jaden got a concussion last season, and he didn't do as well, but he definitely wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. But without a doubt, our best look at what our offense with Nussmeier is going to look like was the ReliaQuest Bowl at the end of last season. This is the first time where Nuss was the guy. He was the QB1 going into this game. For the entire 15 practices or whatever it is leading up to that bowl game, Nuss got all the first team reps and the coaches built a game plan around his skill set. He did have a slow start, and as expected, our defense did not give him any help, but he really turned it on in that second half. Led us to a come-from-behind victory and like a 90-plus yard game-winning touchdown drive late in the fourth quarter. I know it's Wisconsin, but still, he showed an immense amount of grit in this game. And most importantly, the boys really seemed to rally behind him.
I don't gotta say undisputed.
As far as the rest of our offense goes, we are bringing a plethora of weapons back. Kyron Lacey is gonna step in and be that #1 X-Factor receiver that we need. Kind of like Nussmeier, he took a back seat last year, was the wide receiver 3 behind Malik and BT, but when his number was called upon, he showed what he could do. And I genuinely believe he's ready to take that jump and be the guy this season. And our receiving room is actually crazy deep. I'm not gonna list all of them off, but we have at least 6 or 7 guys who I feel comfortable putting on the field. We are gonna be fine in terms of explosiveness. I promise that. What I do think is worth pointing out about this offense is the rushing attack that we lose from losing Jaden Daniels to the NFL. He was without a doubt our best rusher last season. And our best running back, Logan Diggs, who's definitely a Sunday guy, hit the portal, and he actually ended up at Ole Miss, so joke's on him. Sports beer jokes on him. See what I did there?
We do not care.
And even though we are bringing back 9th-year senior Josh Williams, I really do believe that Caleb Jackson is going to arrive this year. I mean, technically his name is Caleb Jackson, but I personally like to call him Leonard Fournette 2.0, the second coming. I mean, look at these fucking clips side by side, bro. They are literally the same player. This dude's legs are up there with the Saquon Barkleys and the A.J. Dillons. I'm telling you, bro. And considering the fact that he'll be running behind the best offensive line in the country, I think our ground game will be elite, which will only further help Nuss and the rest of our offense. So yeah, it's safe to assume that our offense is going to be amongst the best in the country, but the big question mark on this team was definitely the defense, considering the monstrosity that we just witnessed in 2023. So what did we do to improve that? Well, #1, we fired everybody.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
And we replaced them with an absolute Avengers-level defensive staff. Blake Baker is back. We remember him as the man who was responsible for Damone Clark breaking out in 2021. He used to be the linebackers coach here at LSU, but then he went and took the defensive coordinator job at Missouri. You know, the same Missouri team that had one of their best seasons in program history last year? Yeah, this guy was coaching their defense. And he did a pretty damn good job. Missouri's defense ranked 34th in the country last season. A lot better than 108. And with all due respect to Missouri, Blake Baker was doing that with Missouri talent, not LSU talent. Actually, fuck all due respect. Y'all are in the SEC. If you're a Missouri fan watching this, just know we own y'all and y'all suck. I'm not gonna act like our defensive roster is absolutely loaded or anything like that. Talent was definitely an issue. It wasn't just coaching last year. Like I said earlier, we are the LSU Tigers. We epitomize great defense. So this little predicament we find ourselves in is just unacceptably piss poor. A disgrace to everything this program stands for. I am confident Blake Baker has what it takes to turn this defense around, but it's not gonna happen overnight. The things that give me that confidence are 1, his resume, 2, the fact that the players really like him, and 3, the assistants that are coming to work underneath him. Look at how the Missouri players responded to Blake Baker leaving for LSU. All love, no hard feelings, nothing but respect. This shows me that he built a great relationship with his players. On the contrary, when we fired Matt House, you did not see that same amount of love shown by the LSU players. And I think that the broken relationship is evident in the way that we played defense last year. Baker's a young coach who can relate to the players, and I think these defenders are going to be bought in playing for him, and they're just going to enjoy every single day getting to work, and that's going to result in much higher level of play. And the assistants I talked about earlier are no joke. Corey Raymond, the godfather of DBU, is back. This guy was not only responsible for coaching the golden era of DBs at LSU, but more importantly, recruiting them. I am confident that he is going to bring LSU back to the top of the DBU throne. And the reason I'm confident in saying that is because he already did it. I don't know why we ever let him leave. We also brought in highly respected defensive line coach Bo Davis to coach our D-linemen. He was coaching at Texas last year, and if you know anything about Texas in 2023, their D-line was absolutely nasty, and he obviously played a large role in that, coaching their defensive line. And Bo Davis is also an LSU alum, so this is his alma mater, so it means that little extra to him, which is always a plus. Overall, this staff is a massive W for LSU. It's not going to happen overnight because our roster isn't stacked like it was in the 2010s when we had all of those great defenders, but it eventually will get back to that because these guys all know how to recruit. And as far as 2024 is concerned, we still have talent on the defense. I mean, we're we're LSU. Harold Perkins might be the most talented defensive player in the entire country. We just didn't use him properly last year. We put him at that nickel Sam bullshit that took him out of every single play, it felt like. But I'm confident these guys will figure out a way to actually utilize Perk's abilities. By the way, Blake Baker is coaching the linebackers. He'll be working with Perk every single day. He actually already is. He did it with Damone Clark 3 years ago, and now he's gonna do it with Harold Perkins. He should be an absolute game wrecker for us in 2024. Also, Greg Penn and Whit Weeks are also great players. We should have a nice little linebacking trio. Now, we are really thin on the interior defensive line. Like I said, this isn't gonna be an elite unit year one with this staff. There are holes. We also have a lot of question marks in the secondary. Now, Corey Raymond is gonna coach them up, and I think a lot of our underclassmen who might play this year are gonna be better than our starters last year, but we're just gonna have to wait and see on that. We did bring in Jordan Gilbert from A&M, a proven SEC caliber starting safety. He should immediately see the field week one, so that's a W. Also, Blake Baker is gonna run a system where we have 3 safeties on the field a lot of the time, and one of these safety positions is gonna be called the star, kind of like a rover safety linebacker hybrid kind of guy, and I believe that's what Major Burns is supposed to play. And I know Major Burns is the butt of a lot of jokes by LSU fans, and I get it, he is kind of weak in coverage, but I think this star position might fit his skill set perfectly, so I'm excited to see how that plays out. And I'm also excited to see what a lot of these edge rushers are going to be able to do now with Bo Davis. Deshaun Womack, Braden Swinson, Savion Jones. I think there's a lot of chance for guys like that to really have a great year, but at the same time, it's a mystery. You don't know. I'll tell you what, I'm fucking fired up for September 1st, though, because we're going to find out, baby. As far as 2024 is concerned, we shouldn't expect, nor do we need this defense to be an elite unit. Our offense is going to put up points. Can this defense be top 50 in the country? That's the big question. If they are, we will be in a great spot. We have a 12-team playoff. No Nick Saban in our way. All of our toughest games are being played at home in Death Valley. Let's go win the fucking SEC, make this 12-team playoff, and then get hot. I believe, baby. But let's fast forward in time 5 months from now. We just experienced the most magical run any college football team has ever gone on in all of history. Brian Kelly and Garrett Nussmeier are getting presented the College Football Playoff Championship Trophy. They get on the mic to address all the screaming LSU fans, and they say, man, none of this would have been possible without Sports Beer Jokes. He's the GOAT. He's been with us since day one. Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to his channel and follow him on all of his socials and show him love. And you know, I'm humble. Like, even though I'm 6'5" and got hella bread, like, I don't really like the attention being put on me in that kind of way. It's kind of embarrassing type shit. But obviously, all the cameras are gonna turn to me in that moment, and they're all gonna ask me the question that's on everyone's mind.
So is it a dynasty now?
Yeah, it's the start of one. We're not done. I know we're going to celebrate tonight, celebrate the Pride Wednesday, Kansas City, but we're not done. We got a young team. We'll keep this thing going.
Brian Kelly has been recruiting his absolute butt off. As good as I believe we're going to be in 2024, there's only one direction this program is going, and it's up. Our quarterback situation is actually a problem. And I don't mean problem like, oh, they're nasty. No, I mean like it's actually problematic because you can only play one guy. It's no guarantee that Nuss goes to the league after this season. He might come back for 2025, but let's just assume he goes, wins the Heisman, wins the national championship, and then declares for the draft. Who's going to take over after him? Obviously, we have Ricky Collins, who's going to be going into his 3rd year in college, super talented guy. He's going to want to see the field. But then we also have Colin Hurley, very similar situation, came in the year after him, super talented high school prospect. He's going to want to play too. But then in 2025, we have the #1 player in the entire class who happens to play quarterback coming to Baton Rouge all the way from Michigan. He's not just the #1 quarterback, he's the #1 player in the entire class. That's monumental for LSU. The only other time we landed the #1 player in a class was Leonard Fournette, but we got him right from our backyard. Brian Kelly was able to convince this kid to come all the way from Michigan. Obviously, that's a massive W, but in this era of college football, these 18-year-old kids expect to play right away or they'll just fucking transfer. Chances are one of these players are going to leave LSU, maybe even 2 of them if we don't play our cards right. But obviously, this is a great problem to have. I mean, we're actually QBU now. Not only are we bringing in Bryce Underwood, the #1 player, we're also bringing in the #1 running back, Harlem Berry, to come along with. These guys are on a 7-on-7 team together, and let me tell you, they love the Tigers.
2019 on steroids. Multiple natties, couple Heisman. If that's Harlem, that's me. You know,
we might all be up there. Might be a whole LSU front row to whoever gonna win the Heisman.
First to ever do it.
None of them little boys messing with LSU for real. You feel me? We come and put our name back on the top. Bama, whatever. Ohio State, you saw them boys just walked in. I can't say what I want to say, but you know they ain't messing with us for real for us.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely electrifying to see that. Nowadays, these recruits, they'll commit, then decommit, and they'll keep their options open even after they've committed, in quotes. Not these guys. No way. They still have a year left of high school, and they're already bleeding purple and gold. Bro really said 2019 on steroids. Come on! And this just goes back to the theme of this video, which is the culture that Brian Kelly is establishing at LSU. Kelly took over a horrible situation from 2020 and 2021 and immediately turned us around, back-to-back 10-win seasons to start it off. He gave us an SEC championship appearance, a Heisman winning quarterback. He has been vastly overachieving in those first 2 seasons. And now we're entering year 3, which is right around the timetable he told us to start, expecting us to compete. And it's really starting to come together right before our eyes.
We do not care.